What's going on, guys? Welcome in, welcome in. Sipping on some good tea right now. Just relaxing. What a great show we had today. Minute or two, see if anyone trickles in real quick, and we'll get started right away. In the meantime, if you want to drop down any tickers you want me to look at, drop it down in the chat. I'll take a look, see what's going on, see some levels. But pretty much off of an amazing day. I don't think it just feels like it just gets more unreal the by day right now. I think the toughest part about this overall price action that we've had these past few days is just having mental toughness right now and just taking it day by day. Um, what's going on, Randy? So I think that's probably the biggest thing. As you pretty much see, I don't want to say fluster, but you see how even Avery and myself were like, wow, I mean, this is pretty much astonishing about the fact of we are setting pretty much record breaking price action here going on for now past what 11, 12 odd days right now. You already have Apple that's already pretty much solidified 11 green days in a row. We're pretty much looking at the 12th here tomorrow. We're also looking at towards breaking that mental number of that 180 mark on Apple. And then also once we approach that all-time high that we have of that 183 and some change, then we're talking about Apple yet again at a $3 trillion company. So that's something to keep in mind. So it just seems like right now we're kind of chasing the stars right now, the moon, if you want to say, as price action just continues to just elevate itself, right? There's no meaningful pullbacks right now, and that's where it gets a little bit more frustrating right now. And that's where you pretty much have to stay just consistent and stay patient right now and just waiting for the patterns to develop because you're not getting any meaningful pullbacks within this entire 11 to 12 day rally that we've had for the most part. I think going past from the March 15th, you literally see that we've only had one meaningful red day out of all of this. So that kind of tells you right now. So at this point, we pretty much already broken level after level that we pretty much given you. I know that Avery's looking at 460. We already broke that now. I was pretty much looking out towards that 460, 461 mark. Here we are right now. Um, Pretty much stretching out right now. I think we can stretch as far as 464, 465. I think that's ideally where I'm looking at. Also looking at past uh, price action is what I meant to say. Pretty much stretching out from November or up towards the end of December. That's really been a change in direction as far as that 464, 465 level. So I'm looking for that to be the confluence in which we find whether it be a headline or it be something else, maybe technicals that pretty much send us into a U-turn. But that 464, 465 is the next major level that I'm watching. Obviously, we can hit that within a blink of an eye here tomorrow, and that's what I'll be looking for. But at this pace, with this strength, this momentum right now, it really feels like it's gonna have to be more than just some kind of data that's really gonna give us a U-turn here in this market, because the buying pressure is just too strong right now. Institutions, funds, it's just accumulation after accumulation. Literally buying high and selling higher right now is really what's been going on here the past few days. So I don't think it's really going to be a level of exhaustion. Honestly, I don't think it's a matter of more so technicals either. I really think you're going to have to wait for a headline, a meaningful headline, and hopefully it's not going to be overnight that sends us into a U turn. And obviously, I think that's what's going to end up happening, because obviously, the whole entire mission of this entire V shaped recovery we had is pretty much eliminating all the shorts that there are right now. So if you're trying to short, you're just getting squeezed out right now. That's basically what it is. So at what point are you gonna continue to pretty much tolerate your short just going yet lower and lower and pretty much losing value? And that's ultimately what the entire mission is of this. It feels like right now. So that's just something. Obviously, I do think it's gonna be a headline overnight, and that's why I think that bears are somehow going to get blindsided off of this. It's just a matter of at what point does that entirely happen, right? Because we're gonna see a night where the chat is likely gonna explode, and we're gonna have some kind of stupid headline that's gonna end us causing this to be pretty much washed out right now. But big picture here, in terms of just the levels and taking it day by day right now. Obviously, we already see this just a massive daily candle we had. That was a hell of a move. Two things that I can see happening here, obviously, besides getting to that 464, 465 level on SPY, is which the next major level I'm watching. We could have a little bit of an inside day here tomorrow, in which that pretty much just propels us to continue going higher, right? That'll pretty much be in which it's just a resting candle, basically, your little inside candle, and then we'll have our next leg higher the following day. That's ideally what could end up happening because there's not any kind of meaningful pressure to really send us back down. But if there's any selling pressure that is present, then we can start looking at this gap fill here under this 457.18 that we created today. We'll look to see if we fill that gap in which that'll complete here at 455.91. And that's what I'll be looking at, ideally. But I am not forcing the situation to the downside. That's pretty much at this point, especially, you do not want to force the downside position and pretty much just watch it go to waste right now. So wait for the market to really give you that sign, that reversal, again, whether it be really more so the setting pressure adding into it from the technical standpoint, or it really be a headline, wait for that signal before you just jump in blind. Because right now, if you are going into puts, you are pretty much just going in with a blind eye right now. There's nothing here that says that you really want to short this momentum and this amount of strength right now. All right. So again, bottom line is that I'll look for the gap fill here below if we do see selling pressure added up. Otherwise, we're looking for continuation. We're looking for Apple to go for that 3 trillion mark. We're looking potentially for Tesla to make another $100 moves. I can go down the list with all the cues right now. And then 464, 465 is the mark that I'm watching for, and ultimately. All right. So that's pretty much what I have my eyes on set on right now. Um, Wiley, hopefully I just answered your question right now about asking me about a pullback right now. It's just right now level by level. So you lose pretty much today's daily candle, then we can start to see the selling pressure just start to mount up with that going into that gap fill, and you play the gap. Otherwise, you pretty much look to see whether it's going to be an inside day. Look at the price action, see how quickly we maybe move within the first 30 minutes tomorrow. See how swift the price action is, and maybe they put us in a box tomorrow, right? I think that's actually what happened yesterday more so. We had such a swift price action within the first 30 minutes to an hour market open, and then it was a little bit more gradually slow price action the rest of the day. So that's something to maybe keep an eye on. But 464, 465 is what I'm looking at ultimately on SPY here. And we'll see if we smack that on the head here going into tomorrow. All right. We also do have some data coming out tomorrow as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. I just want to take a quick glance at what that data was real quick. Let me just take a peep. Tomorrow is Wednesday, March 30th, so we do have ADP employment report. That'll be something we keep an eye on. We have GDP revision. We also have gross domestic income. And then it looks like we do have some speakers tomorrow as well. Richard Fed President Tom Barkin speaks tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. Eastern. And then there's another Kansas Fed that pretty much speaks later on around lunch hour. So that's pretty much what we'll keep an eye on. See if the data does anything. But at this point in time, I really don't think data has any kind of influence on whatever this price action is right now. We also had the pretty much the 2 year and 10 year bond yields pretty much invert right now. So that's another key thing that we're watching as well. The market has not responded to it as of right now. But typically when that ends up happening, it usually follows with a recession. And that's really what's going to be pretty much a headline on any kind of TV station right now, CNBC, Bloomberg. That's really going to be a headline in which a lot of analysts are going to be questioned about. Is with that bond yield pretty much inverted right now, are we going to be hearing more so rumors and pretty much talks about recession in the coming days here? So that's something to keep on watch. As of right now, the market's unfazed by it. That's pretty much what it is. All right. But other than that, that's pretty much the headline of what I wanted to mention. My watch list right now, I mean, this is usually my main watch list in terms of the heavyweights of the market right now. So nothing has really pretty much changed in terms of what I'm keeping an eye on. Hopefully you heard me say during pretty much all day maybe. I think yesterday I was calling out for AMD. If you got in on that one under 117 when I said that was a good buy, it's already a $5 move for AMD. I was watching Facebook to that 230 mark today. I mentioned that earlier this morning. That pretty much popped that 230 here, I think right around lunch hour. That was just a beautiful move as well. Tesla kind of stayed away. I'm not really driven by it or swayed by it in either direction right now. I know 1098 was a big level. We saw it pretty much just bounce off of it repeatedly today, more so. So I'm gonna continue to watch to see if we get any kind of meaningful directional move tomorrow. I'm not gonna really pay more so attention to it right now, trying to figure out that directional move. It's in a tough spot because either from right now we're gonna be looking under 1050 right now. It's gonna be a swift move towards 1050, or we're gonna get just pretty much a continuation of explosive move to the upside, in which today was just a resting consolidation type of day, and we can make a swift move up towards 1070, 1080, in which everyone's gonna be looking for that 1200 call that's been heated repeatedly. All right. Um, the same crude oil prices to surge. What are your thoughts about XOP and energy? I know that energy's pretty much been at a rest. I expect pretty much oil to continue to go higher. If I pretty much take a look at XOP, I think we do continue to go higher. I wouldn't doubt it to see it resmack this pretty much break this high and we hit that 140 mark. I think that was what I was pretty much ideally hearing more so or not. Um, I know I had a pretty much a little bit of a resistance point here to see if we would pretty much retest this level. It doesn't seem like that we're gonna get that kind of price action to retest. If I'm looking at XOP, from the last time that I looked at it, I was expecting us to pretty much retest here, get a nice little pretty much follow through or retest, you want to say, down to this low 125 mark. But that's not going to particularly happen. I mean, the accumulation right now across the board is just so heavily right now. And so I would pretty much put XOP right back at 140 here rather quickly. And I would not be surprised if we see that by mid next week. So that's pretty much just giving myself time. That's why I said 140 by mid next week. But I would not be surprised to see that kind of price action end up happening. All right. So right now, if I were to tell you if you wanted to be long oil energy, I think that is pretty much a safe bet right now. All right. Um, Nvidia, I'll take a peep. And that was pretty much piggybacking off of what I said with AMD yesterday. I was pretty much high on AMD only because I know yesterday Nvidia was already up about $6-7 when I was looking at it. But granted, the fact that pretty much today when I saw AMD continuing its run, I was pretty much high on all of the semis. I know that also Micron actually had their earnings this afternoon. So they were up quite a bit. Actually, I just want to take a peep. How much are they up right now? Well, they're up about 3.5%. So that's something that will probably keep the semis up again yet tomorrow. Something I would not be surprised about. But as I look at pretty much at Nvidia, what I was looking out towards is that 230 mark. That's really what I see is being hit so heavily right now. That's the level, and I thought I had this chart marked up, but I guess I don't. Pretty much the level that I had us ranging out towards was 305. Between 305 down towards this level here of this 297 um, would be my low end. But 300 to 305 is that range in which I'm looking at. It pretty much signified a little bit of a consolidation that we had back towards the third week of November before we had a massive gap up. And that was also where we had distribution from the end of December before we had that massive start of a sell off. So I'm going to look for the 300 to 305 mark is ideally what I'm targeting here on NVIDIA. That also coincides with AMD, in which my bigger target on AMD is also stretching out towards this 128. If you see my AMD chart here right now as well, we pretty much have just a beautiful little trend line, except for this little down day that we have back-to-back down day from March 15th. It's pretty much respected this trend line support that I've had, and I'm looking to pretty much test this downtrend break here at this 128 mark. So that's ideally what I'm looking at. So if you want to pretty much coincide with semis together here, AMD to 128, Nvidia pretty much towards that range of that 300 to 305 is ideally what I'm looking at. So semis to me have the most strength right now, maybe more so the more upside I want to say in my favor that I like. And that's why I pretty much mentioned on live. If I was to swing something overnight today, it would have been AMD or Nvidia because the semis look amazing. The only reason I was hesitant was because of the fact that Micron actually had their earnings today. That was the only impact that and reason why I didn't swing it. I didn't want to get caught if Micron actually had any kind of relatively bad earnings. All right. But other than that, semis have pretty much look solid. Again, I pretty much covered Apple because I know that Apple's pretty much the heart of this entire rally with that entire 11-day green streak we've had. Tomorrow will probably be the 12th. The only thing that pretty much I would caution is that I would think at some point here, not necessarily that we're going to have just a solid red day for Apple, but we're likely going to end up seeing some kind of green to red move. So that'll be when you really want to step in front of that freight train when you see this name go green to red. But for right now, I would pretty much stay clear of it. Unless you're in calls and you're playing the upside, you're playing it for that 183 mark to the $3 trillion company that's going to be announced yet again. Pretty much stay clear. Don't try to step in front of that freight train trying to short that, right? And I think that's the same thing with Tesla. You may have had an opportunity to short Tesla this morning. I think it was down about $14, but that was after the fact that it had already gapped up near $20 this morning. You had an opportunity for about a $14 red action. So maybe from being up $19 to down $14, you had a quick snipe as a short. But if you would have stepped in after the fact, you pretty much just got premium chopped right now on Tesla. So that's why I'm pretty much avoiding Tesla. I don't want to get caught in that, and I don't want to get my premiums eaten. And I'm not trying to be in the money to really spend up on that premium. All right. Q1 window dressing wrap ups Thursday. Q2 dump. That's entirely possible. I mean, it's left to be seen right now. The price action right now is just incredible right now. It's just how much longer does this rally really have before we see a meaningful U-turn, before things really start to take effect. We already see the news continuing to just swirl around between Russia, Ukraine. We have the inverted yields right now as well, just being pretty much a sideline headline story right now going on. That's something to also be worried about. So the signs are there right now. It's just that the market really doesn't give a crap about anything right now. They don't care about any data as far as that right now. This is literally just buying and buying accumulation after accumulation right now. But we are near the end stage. It's pretty much what you would assume. Granted, the fact that we've already had about an 11 to 12-day rally on SPY itself. All right. But other than that, hopefully that kind of gave you guys a better idea of everything that I was looking at. Pretty much my general idea of what the market is. I'm pretty much cash overnight. So I'll wait to see what the market gives me tomorrow. I'm not gonna chase it up here. That's really not my style to chase the market price action here. So I'm not in the mindset of trying to buy high and then sell higher. That's just not my intention. So I would rather wait, see what the market gives me tomorrow. Then I'll go from there and pretty much analyze what levels I'm looking at for the upside or the downside, depending what the price action is really giving me by morning. Whether we see a gap up or we pretty much open flat like we kind of did today, more so. All right. So I'll wait for the price action to pretty much present itself. No, hopefully there's another play like how I called out Facebook going to 230. Pretty much how I pretty much had runners off of AMD when I sniped that under 117 yesterday. So hopefully there's more plays like that. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll see if Apple's able to break over that 180 mark. That might be a beautiful, pretty much scalp from 180 up to 183. That might be a quick snipe off for that. And then I would just make sure to take profits pretty quickly because once it does hit that 183 high that we have, I would likely expect that to pretty much sell off rather quickly. So that's just something else to keep in mind. The other factor that's pretty much crossed my attention is that I know Netflix also has an inverted head and shoulders off of the daily. That's something to maybe keep on watch, right? And I had the downtrend break here, but obviously you see this little inverted left shoulder, the head, and that right shoulder, which pretty much looked like a wedge, and we gapped it right up. So that's something to keep in mind here. If we get price action here up towards this 4 or 5 is what I will be playing. If you're really looking for the break, obviously you want to see the break over that 397 mark, and then you can play that up to 405. That'll be a beautiful push that you'll likely see in continuation for Netflix if we do continue this market momentum. So that's one that caught my attention. The other one was Shop. I know that Avery was pretty much looking at this one. Since you had that little double bottom action, it kind of looked like you had basically an inverted head and shoulders yet again here. Nice little inverted left shoulder. You had that curl, little wedge action on the right, and you see the pop. So this one pretty much looks viable towards that 780. The calls were pretty much going out towards 800, in which you basically test this gap fill that you have here as well. So that's another one, just pretty much levels in which I'm watching, the patterns that I'm pretty much paying attention to. And then the semis are also on the list. One that I'm probably going to take a peek at tomorrow morning more so will be Microsoft. I don't want to look at it just yet because I'd rather see how the market does tomorrow morning than pretty much just make a guess and then price action tells me otherwise tomorrow morning. So I am going to take a peep at Microsoft tomorrow because that's really going to be a telling story for me. Just granted the fact that I know how much the upside is left for Apple towards that 183. I do want to see how much upside is left for Microsoft. Granted, those are pretty much your two heavyweights in terms of the tech sector. All right. But hopefully those pretty much those levels, the quick patterns that I identified across the board, the names. We'll see what the levels are tomorrow morning. We'll go from there. But other than that, that kind of wraps up what I really wanted to mention here, guys. And I will see you guys on live tomorrow. All right. Other than that, I'm out. Later, guys.